9 calisthenics exercises that every beginner should learn. That's what we're looking at in this video, guys. And I'm not going to just tell you what these 9 exercises are. I'm going to give you little mini tutorials so you know how to progress to each exercise, right? I know that as a beginner, you can't just do a pull-up and you can't just do an L-sit. So I'm going to show you how to achieve these. All right, really quick before we dive in, I just want to say for anyone new to the channel, my name is Ryan. This is Minus the Gym. It's all about body weight fitness, and we talk a little bit about nutrition and lifestyle and stuff like that. But let's dive right into the content, right? I want to show you guys these 9 exercises, and the first one is, of course, the push-up. Now, I know that sounds a little cliche, but the push-up is a cornerstone exercise in calisthenics. It's one of the essential basics. And not everybody can do a push-up. There are plenty of beginners out there who can't do a proper push-up. So if that's you, here's what you got to do. First, get in front of a wall, kind of lean in towards the wall, and then use the wall for doing push-ups. Doing push-ups in a standing position will dramatically reduce the load from gravity that's going against you in the pushing movement. So this makes the push-ups way more approachable. It allows you to build strength in a way that's not too difficult. And it gives you a good feeling for the proper movement of the shoulder blades, okay? So what you need to pay attention to is that the shoulder blades, as you lower down or towards the wall, your shoulder blades are gonna come together, they're gonna retract. And then as you push away from the wall, the shoulder blades move apart. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to that because that scapular movement is pretty critical, especially as you progress these push-ups. I would say to build the wall push-ups up to like 20 plus reps, and then start doing incline push-ups. And you can use surfaces throughout your home. You know, this could be a countertop or a ledge that's kind of up high in the beginning, and then try something lower like a coffee table. And then you can go even lower, like maybe the bottom step of your staircase or something like that. So you just gradually lower the incline, and then eventually you'll get down to the floor. Now, if the floor is still too difficult at that point, then you can use kneeling push-ups as a bridge progression. But kneeling push-ups are a little weird because your body is not fully extended, you know, your knees are bent. So I don't recommend using just kneeling push-ups like some people recommend. That to me is just a bridge progression. So use the kneeling push-ups as a bridge progression if you need them, and before you know it, you will get your first push-up. And with enough practice and consistency, you'll be cranking out the reps before you know it. Okay, exercise 2 is pull-ups. And I personally consider pull-ups to be like the granddaddy of upper body exercises. Okay, this is, in my experience and in the experience of many people I've trained, the most difficult basic calisthenics exercise. So I'm going to assume if you're a beginner watching this, you probably can't do a pull-up. And here's what you need to do if you can't do one. These are the progressions you want to use. Start off just hanging from a bar in a dead hang. This means letting your body weight just hang down as dead weight. And then once you can hang for say 20 seconds or so, start working on your active hang. The active hang is when you pull the shoulder blades down and kind of rotate them back a little bit, and that will raise your head up above the shoulders. So this is an active hang because it's activating all the musculature around your upper back, shoulders, and arms. Once you're good at that active hang, let's say you can hold it for 15, 20 seconds, then try getting above the bar with a chair or a stool for assistance, and then just hold a bent arm hang. So you are holding your chin or your eyes above the bar and trying to build up those hold times as well. Now, I will say that the bent arm hangs are a bit harder than the active and dead hangs. So even if you just build those up to say 10 seconds, that should be plenty, and then start working on negatives. Now, the eccentric or downward phase, the negative phase of any movement is what tears the muscle fibers to rebuild them stronger. So that's why we're gonna focus on negatives. You just get above the bar and then slowly lower down. It should be about 5 seconds or longer to go from the top all the way down to the bottom of the movement. And with enough work on negatives, you're eventually going to get your first pull-up. But if you find that you just can't get it, all right, this happens to some people, then there is a bridge progression where you would just put a band, like a resistance band, around your bar, loop it through itself, and then step your foot into the band. And the band will assist you. Use a thin band so it's just a little bit of assistance, and that will bridge the gap between negatives and your first pull-up. Exercise 3 is dips. And I absolutely love dips. I consider dips to be the squat of the upper body. Okay, so you're gonna need some parallel bars for this one, but what you're gonna do is start off with support holds. That means you're gonna hold yourself up with your arms locked out above the parallel bars and just work on building that up to at least 20 seconds, just holding that isometric position. After you've got that support hold, it's all about negatives, okay? So you get into a support hold and then slowly lower down. Remember that eccentric phase, the downward phase, is what really builds strength. It breaks down the muscles. So you're gonna just repetitively get up into a support hold and then slowly lower down. Aim for 5 seconds per negative and build up. I would say 8 reps in a set would be a good target. And once you've built up the strength for those negatives, then you should be ready for your first dip. Now we're moving on to the lower body with squats for exercise 4. And what I've noticed actually is that most people, the vast majority, don't have any problem with strength when it comes to bodyweight squats. It's actually more mobility. So here's what I want to mention. I want to mention use partial range of motion if you have to, if it feels uncomfortable to squat down all the way. And as you improve your range of motion with practice, you want to aim for getting down into the bottom of a squat where your back and your tibia are about parallel, roughly parallel to each other. That's just ideal squat form. You don't have to worry too much about it. I think a lot of people make a big deal out of squat form because most people are doing them with heavy weights on their back at the gym. But with body weight fitness, you don't really have to worry about it so much. We used to squat in so many different varieties and different positions throughout our evolution. So just know that, work with partial range of motion, and if mobility is still an issue for you, then you can hold on to something for assistance, right? It can assist you in getting down and up into a deep squat. And that assistance might be the little extra thing you need to get the full squat. Exercise 5, still with lower body, is lunges. And now with lunges, there's typically not a lot of progression needed here, but I will say that if you struggle with lunges, you want to start off with static lunges. When you stand in a split stance position and you do lunges without actually stepping forward or backwards. Notice that I'm on my back toes, okay? So my back foot is up on the toes. I'm actually assisting a little bit with the pressing up from the back foot. So you can assist your front leg with the back leg when you're working on these static lunges. Then you want to progress to forward lunging, which is where you step forward into a lunge and then step back into the standing position and then alternate legs. So you're stepping forward, dropping down to a half kneeling position and then standing back up. But you can also do reverse lunges, which is where you step backwards and sink down into a lunge, alternating legs for each rep. With both of these, you want the front leg pushing up from either the heel or the entire foot. All right, don't just push up from the ball of your foot or the front of your foot because that's not going to engage all the muscles properly. You want your quads, hams, and glutes involved here. So you want to push from the whole front foot or the heel. The heel will do a little bit of glute emphasis. And exercise 6 is hanging leg raises, a hip hinge exercise that really targets the entire core. So what we want to do here is we want to hang from a bar. If it's a lower bar, you might have to kind of do a bent arm hang, which is totally fine. First, you want to start off with knee raises, all right? Just tucking your knees up towards your chest. Try to bring them up high enough that the thighs are at least parallel to the ground. Then for the second progression, you want to do knee raises and then fully extend the legs at the top and slowly lower them down in a negative. So what this is doing is it's doing a knee raise, but then the bottom half is like the negative of a leg raise. That's going to help you build the strength in your core for the full extended leg raise. All right, now I want to pause here and tell you guys that those 6 exercises that I just covered, push-ups, pull-ups, dips, squats, lunges, leg raises, those 6, those are like basics, right? Those are basics that you can build all kinds of good routines with. You can build circuits, and it's just, you can do so much with those. You can use them for conditioning, you can build strength with them. So just know that those are what you want to work on and learn first. And you can make a whole bunch of different routines just with those 6 basic exercises and the different variations, right? Like, wide push-ups, diamond push-ups, narrow grip pull-ups, chin-ups. There's variations of all of these things. Now we're gonna get into 3 more exercises, which are more skill-based progressions, all right? And with that said, exercise 7 is the frog stand. And what the frog stand is when you get down with your hands on the floor and then your knees are resting on the sides of the backs of your upper arms, and you lean forward and get into this tucked hand balancing position, meaning you're balancing on your hands, but your body's tucked and low to the ground, so it's actually quite safe to do. Now, I'm not going into a whole lot of detail here with how to do the frog stand because I actually have a full detailed frog stand tutorial, which I made several years ago, And I will put a link in the description box below so you can go check out that detailed tutorial if you want. I also have a full 5-video playlist that teaches you how to go from complete beginner to a full handstand. So I'll put a link to the handstand playlist as well. But here's the thing. I love handstands. They're the most fun exercise in all of calisthenics, in my opinion. And if you want to achieve a handstand and you're just starting out, I'm going to tell you right now, it's never too early to start because it's a long journey. It took me 6 months of nearly daily practice to get a decent handstand. All right, so I recommend as a beginner, when you're still working on your pull-ups and other things, go ahead and practice frog stands, because the sooner you get the frog stand, the sooner you can begin the whole progression, which is like this. You get into a frog stand, you get solid, maybe a 20-30 second hold with it, and then you can turn that into a headstand. Right? And then from the headstand, you're learning in an inversion how to control your core and your lower body. Then from a headstand, you want to go to phase 3, which is kicking up against a wall and using a wall for assistance, but getting a feeling for like the whole body being fully inverted, and you're supporting yourself with your serratus really lifting, elevating your scapula. And then in the 4th phase, that's when you start kicking up in the open and getting that hang time and locking out the handstand. So it's quite a process, and it all begins with the frog stand. So keep that in mind. Now, exercise 8 is the tucked front lever. I did not mention bodyweight rows earlier, right? The 6 exercises I mentioned as like the cornerstone basics had pull-ups, but that was the only pulling exercise. And that's because I'm recommending you work on your tucked front lever as well. And the lead-ups to the tucked front lever are bodyweight rows, right? So start off with bent leg bodyweight rows, because those are a little easier, a little less resistance coming down on you from gravity. And then once you build those up to say, I don't know, 10 plus reps, try extending your legs, fully extending them with straight leg bodyweight rows. So now you've got a little more resistance coming down on you, and you're building more strength in those parascapular muscles that do the rowing. Then you just want to work on tucking one leg at a time, doing your rows, and eventually you'll have the pulling and core strength to start working on actually coming up into a tuck and holding that tucked front lever. And last but not least, number 9 is the L-sit. And there's a pretty simple progression here. You'll need some parallel bars or parallettes, but you want to get into a tuck at first. So this is like a support hold with your knees tucked up towards your chest, and then build that up. I don't know. You guys, when it comes to hold times and reps, there's no magic number. I would say aim for at least like somewhere 15-20 seconds or so, and then start extending one leg at a time and building up those hold times as well. And then the third and final progression is to extend both legs. All of this stuff does not come fast. Okay, these take a long time. So I know I breezed through all 9 of these and I gave you little mini tutorials, but the truth is that you could spend months working on all 9 of these, even a full year possibly, depending on where you're coming from in terms of previous fitness experience. All right, now you might be thinking, Ryan, how do I incorporate this into a program? You just gave me a whole bunch of these little tutorials, but how do I actually work at these? Well, there's no right answer to that. In fact, that's worthy of a whole nother video. So make sure you hit subscribe and stay tuned, because I can make a video about the training variables, which are frequency, intensity, and volume, and how you need to balance those when you design a program. It won't be effective if you're just going hard with all 3 of those training variables. It'll be too much. But what I typically recommend for a beginner is going to be usually 3 times a week, just a small selection of exercises, maybe 4, 5 at most, and do about 3 sets of each, and just take each set to failure, meaning you just do the reps until you can't do another rep with proper form. And having at least 2 days off or 3 in between should be enough rest. If you feel really sore, like you haven't recovered, then maybe twice a week would be a good amount. But if you're not used to working out, if you're new to fitness, then you want to start off easy. You can always increase the volume and the frequency and everything. So start off easy, let your body recover, and just take it slow. All right, my fellow beginner friends, hopefully you see the value of all 9 of these exercises, and hopefully you work on them, because I really think mastering the basics is something we should always be doing, no matter how advanced we get. And if you're just starting out, man, that is an exciting time. I'm really happy for you. Thanks for watching the video, and make sure you stay tuned for more. I'll see you in the next one.